Hello, this is Eric from Wisdom Heart. So many people are recognizing that their attention has been co-opted, has been sucked into a vortex of endless news feeds and endless news videos and endless news articles. The news, the news, the news. It's not new. It's just this repetitive process of stirring up our mind and body and amplifying our sense of anxiety. And yet at the same time, we do have a responsibility to stay informed. So what do? We can learn to use the news as a spiritual practice. We can learn to watch the news, listen to the news as a spiritual practice. And to do that, I'm going to quote the great sage Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra was a great American baseball player, coach, and manager who was the master of kind of these almost Zen-like bon mots. And one of his famous lines was this: "You can observe a lot by just watching." You can observe a lot by just watching. But most of us are not just watching the news. That's the trouble. We're not just watching, because just watching is a truly advanced state of awareness. When we learn to meditate, what becomes clear to us is that very little of our attention is devoted to just watching. Mostly everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we take in has been distorted, amplified, veiled, filtered, and twisted by all of our opinions, our judgments, our assumptions, our conditioning, our personal and cultural history. We're not just watching. We're constructing a narrative that reinforces our fixed ideas, that reinforces our current vision of the world, and that locks us into a reactive and highly predictable way of engaging with our life. So we need to learn about just watching. Now, all wisdom traditions point to this possibility, this innate capacity of consciousness to be a lucid, non-distorting mirror of reality. And the practice of meditation is the practice par excellence for cultivating our capacity to abide in this place of just watching. When we sit and meditate, and the thoughts arise as they inevitably will, and we see the habit of getting ensnared and entangled in the thought streams, spinning them out into ever more complex stories, losing our connection to the present moment, to the object of meditation, we follow the instruction: come back, come back, come back to the object of meditation. Come back again and again, and cultivate the capacity to abide as that presence, that just watching presence. Now, that happens in our formal meditation practice, that we build that capacity, but it doesn't end there. We carry it into our life, and we carry it to the news feed. So how do we cultivate watching the news as a spiritual practice? We do it by moving through 4 stages, 4 levels of watching. Stage 1 level of watching is it's not really watching at all. It's just reacting, being involved, being entangled, screaming at the video, or screaming in our head at the video that we're watching. It's stirring up all the familiar narratives, reinforcing them again and again, and creating tension in our body, and a clenching in our stomach, tightness in our neck muscles. And if those somatic indicators of reactivity reach a certain signal, we notice them, and we notice that it's unhealthy. It's not contributing to our own well-being, nor to the well-being of the world. And that moves us to stage 2 of watching. Stage 2 of watching is focused on calming the body and clearing the mind. Taking deep and slow, mindful breaths and bringing our attention back to the body, regulating the body to a state of presence and ease, of well-being enough so that we can go deeper and begin to witness the repetitive and familiar stream of our own reactive thoughts as thoughts. Not to follow them, not to be entangled in them, not to argue with them, but to witness the thoughts as thoughts. This is the deeper level of just watching. We've shifted our attention from the triggering news feed back to that which has been triggered, our own reactivity, and we take responsibility for it with the breath. We take responsibility for relating to it non-judgmentally and with caring intent, allowing the thoughts that arise to go. They're going to go anyway, just letting them go on their own, which moves us to the stage 3 level of watching. In the stage 3 level of watching, we've crossed a critical threshold of awakening, and we turn now to a much deeper level of awareness. In this level of awareness, we recognize, we seek within our own psyche that which we had previously ascribed only to that evil other, to the ones we demeaned, to the ones we vilify, to the ones that we mock, to the ones that we judge because they have these certain qualities that are in them. But now we go in, having penetrated through the veil of thought, we go deeper and we seek for those very same wounds, those very same energies that we perceived outside. We seek for them and discover them in the depths of our own soul. If we had demeaned them as arrogant, we go and we look with non-judgmental awareness and caring intent for the seeds of judgmentalness or the rivers of judgmentalness within our own consciousness. If we've seen them as uncaring, cruel even, we turn around and go deeper and look for those seeds or rivers of cruelty that may be flowing within our own awareness. And in doing this, skillfully, without judgment and with caring intent, we discover a shared humanity, a deep soul-level connection between ourselves and those who we have held so distantly and demeaned so distantly as other, that we have a shared human wound, and that people for millennium have struggled with these same human foibles, these same human wounds, these same human challenges. And we settle without trying to fix it, without trying to control it, manipulate it, without trying to turn away from it. We face and we send loving awareness to those places within our heart that carry the same wounds as we have perceived in the other. And this act of compassionate awareness opens us up to the 4th level of watching. At the 4th level, we enter a deeper state of stillness, because we're no longer defending against those difficult emotional states. We're no longer hiding from those wounds, and we can go deeper and discover, as all meditators and mystics of all wisdom traditions have discovered, that at the heart of every person, every event, of everything, yes, at the heart of this moment, is a radiance, a presence that is innately wise, innately loving, and innately generative or creative. And by entering into communion with that presence, we discover the doorway, as it were, the opening, as it were, to a new vision, a new story, a new possibility. Not one that we think up, not one that we strategize, but one that we receive from that very inner presence. That's the fourth level of watching, and that truly is just watching. Because just watching allows us to receive a new vision and then to carry that back with us into the world, where we discover that every item on the news feed is an invitation to calm the body, to clear the mind, to discover the deep soul connection and the common human wounds that are alive in that event, and to go deeper, to hear the call that is inviting us to become a healer in this world, to make news that is truly new, not a repetition of the reactivity of the past.